Okay, and so that's it. So today I'm going to be talking about frauds and scams and what we can do about them. And I'd like to start with saying, I'll talk about the general theory of them, and then some examples of what we do. But most importantly, frauds and scams are when somebody's trying to come between you and what is rightfully yours, your money. And I have to say, to start with, that we're very much involved in a shame-based society. So how many times have you heard somebody say, well, how stupid was that? Or what were they thinking? And what happens is if somebody starts to get mired into a scam, when I was doing some social work here, what I found was the biggest challenge that an awful lot of them had was they were afraid to tell anybody because they were afraid that they would be called stupid or whatever. So if somebody approaches you, because one of the reasons that I'm doing this is to hopefully you'll share some of this information among your friends. And if a friend approaches you and says, I'm not quite sure about this deal that I'm into, the only helpful answer is, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Let's figure out what we can do to help you, okay? Because anything else really isn't helpful. So knowledge is the key to preventing abuse. And I remember when I was a kid and we had a dryer, washing machine and a dryer, but my mom used to love hanging the sheets and the clothes on the line because she said nothing sanitizes the laundry like sunshine. And so that's it. Let the sunshine in, talk to your friends about scams and frauds, and don't worry, and hopefully nobody will have to worry about being called stupid, which is me. So now I am going to start sharing my screen, so there'll be a little bit of a hiccup here while I do that. So share, and then there we are. So, yeah, now on this chart, if you could see that down at the bottom, the riskiest scam for types of older age groups. For 55 to 64, it's mostly online scams. Second is employment scams, and the third is lottery and sweepstakes. For us that are over 65, the good news is that we're less likely to be scammed, but the bad news is that the median cost of our scamming is usually higher. And for us, the bigger scams are home improvement, online purchase, and cryptocurrency. This is from the Better Business Bureau 2022 report. And I want to say that I'm going to give out a lot of information here, and it's all stolen from somebody else. I respect people's intellectual property, so please don't think I came up with this myself. I just stole it, and I'm just trying to share the information with you. So you can see that the median scam for somebody in our age group is $199, but trust me, it goes much higher than that. The top dollar frauds you can see are investments, and that's usually, if a deal is too good to be true, it usually is, and romance scams. Those are the top two, and we're going to talk about those. But just to get an idea of, this is Canada in 2022, $300 million lost to investment scams, $59 million to romance scams. I know of, I had heard on CBC of a lady last year who lost $750,000 on a romance scam. So buyer beware. Anyways, that just gives you a scope of what we're looking at. And so the tools that fraudsters use, that's a couple things. Those are the main ones. Spoofing is just, it's used to mislead and convince you that you're communicating with people that you know or legitimate companies or organizations. Fraudsters can often change the caller ID on their phone when they're calling you, so you can't really trust the number. And they can change the sender address in an email, often mimic legitimate websites and so on. So if you're getting called by somebody and the phone doesn't sound right, the name or whatever, just hang up. We were all raised in a period where it was very impolite to be rude to anybody. But in this case, just hanging up. You know, you don't have to say anything, just hang up. And if they say that it's, you know, the call is coming from somebody that you know, but they don't sound like that. You know, they don't sound right. Hang up, call them back on the number that you know is actually theirs. And for emails, if you hover your mouse over the website address, it'll show what the real website is, not what they claim on the front end of it. So that's really the first thing. Urgency. That's, you gotta do it now. You gotta do it now. And that's a pressure because they don't want you to take time to think about it. Because if we think, well, wait a minute, does that sound right? Then maybe we, you know, so if it's just, you got no choice. The police are on the way. They're going to arrest you. You need to give me money right now. Hang up. It's the only thing. And so you don't have to immediately send money or click a link or respond to any questions. And always before you react to one of those phone calls, take 5 minutes just to reflect or call a friend and say, I just got a call about this. Does that make sense or not? So the next one, of course, is emotional manipulation. And they trick you into playing on your emotions and believing their story and get so that you'll send them money. And they'll do this in romance, emergency, grandparent, and charity scams. And we're going to talk about those a little bit later. But I just want to let you know that all of these things, you know, these are the things to watch for. So you need to be suspicious of interactions online where somebody just met me online and they're immediately in love with me. Well, I know I'm a very lovable person, but there are limits, right? So we need to worry about that. Anything that sounds a little bit off. And there's the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. I'm going to show you at the end that there's a lot of resources, but they, you know, if you get a call, you can check on one of these resources to see, is this a typical scam that's going around? You know, that sort of thing. Threats, same thing. You know, the famous getting a call from CRA that I owe them $5,000 and I need to give them that in Apple gift cards right now because the police are on my way. And my standard answer is, the police are on their way. My standard answer is, oh, goody, I'll put the kettle on. and hang up. And the other thing is, we're tempted to give them a piece of our mind. In my case, I don't have that many pieces to give away, but don't do it because it's funny. I heard again on CBC last year, some fellow said, I knew it was a scam. I knew it was a scam, but they kept talking and I eventually forked over $2,000. Oh, no. So the best is just hang up. It's more satisfying the old days with the phone where you go clang instead of going, but no matter. So if you're unsure, just hang up. I've got a call from Visa saying that there was 400 suspicious charges on your call, on your credit card. $400 for an online purchase and $1,300 for something else. Now, the first time I got that call, I thought, wow, because I've had fraudulent charges. But I realized that they just said, this is the Visa Security Department calling. They didn't say, is this Eric Storey or anything like that. So I just hung up on them. And I called Visa. And I said, I just got a call. She said, oh, for God's sake, you'd think they'd change the numbers every once in a while. They've been using $400 and $1,300 forever. But yeah, it's a scam, don't worry.
And the famous one is the Amazon one too.
Yeah. So those are, you'll see them come up. Pop-ups are another thing that can really happen. They just pop up on your computer screen saying that you've won a prize or that your computer is infected, and they provide a toll-free number for you to call. And you want to click on them, so what they want you to do is click on the pop-up so it can install some malicious software on your computer. And what you need to do is really, you should never be cruising the internet without a really good antivirus protection and pop-up blockers. In any case, clear your cache and block cookies. Don't use a public Wi-Fi or unsecured networks unless you know what's going on there, and never call a phone number provided in a pop-up. So search engine optimization. This is another one where they can manipulate what happens when you search for cookies or you search for this or that, so that theirs will be at the top. This is a couple of years ago. A young fellow that I knew had told that he should be going into an investment program, and he asked me to go along just to see what it was like. And it was really hard sell pyramid, and I knew it was a fraud. But when I got home, I typed the name of that company in the search engine, and like 3 pages of glowing references for this program, which they had put there. When I checked with a couple of other places, they said, of course, it's an obvious fraud. So those are just some of the things to work on. The links, and if you click on a link in an email or on a website, first of all, hover over that link so that you can see where that link actually goes. But I would say try to avoid them if at all possible. And impersonation is somebody who thinks they can trick you into spending money. Spear phishing, we'll talk about that in a moment, in a couple of minutes. So business email compromise, fraudsters study emails and interactions between employees so they can better impersonate them. We all get better over time with practice. Fraudsters get better over time with practice as well. And so verify a person's identity. You can always say, no, I don't. We're not going to talk about this. I'll see you at the office on Monday if it's one of those things. Anyways, those are their standard tools, and they weave in and out of just about every single fraud that you can possibly think about. So now we'll just go to some examples of personal information, and that phishing with a PH. You just have to remember that credit cards and debit cards, giving out those numbers is like giving out a stack of cash. If I give you my credit card number with the expiry date and the CCV authorization code, you can do whatever you want with it. So be really careful about that. Social media. I'm going on maybe this I shouldn't say it, but I'm going on a holiday next year. What I will do is I'll wait until I'm back, and then I'll post the photos and talk about how much fun I had. If I were to post, I'm leaving whatever month, whatever day, and I'm going to be gone for a month, everybody in the world knows that I'm gone for a month. And it can play into another friend scam saying, I got an email from somebody that I knew just vaguely. They were in Scotland. They had been robbed. Their passport was gone. All their money was gone. and I needed to wire them $800 immediately. Well, I knew from their Facebook page that they were on holidays. But I also knew that that was a scam, so I didn't do it. But again, if people see on your Facebook, I'm going away for 2 months to Greece or to Italy or whatever, they can do it. So that's vacation plans. And I know that Sage offers some computer literacy programs. Yeah, sort of. But really, a lot of senior centers do. And we're in the, when you're dealing with a computer, we're in the area of a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. So we really need to be careful about what we're doing there. So the next one. So the basic deal of instant wins is if you haven't entered a contest, you haven't won a contest. Just remember that. And sometimes they'll say that, well, you have won a lot. And there is actually a cruise. It's probably about an $800 3-day cruise to the Caribbean. But in order to give you this wonderful prize, well, there's a processing fee. And then there's taxes, and there's a fuel surcharge, of course, and there's a reservation deposit. So even if the cruise is worth $800 or $900, you'll end up paying $1,500 in extra charges. So these cruises, lotteries, whatever, you know, it might be, well, I need your bank account number so that I can deposit the funds into your account, right?
I'll just say to them, if you told me it was free,
Yeah.
and now you tell me I have to pay something for it, I said, it's not free, forget it.
Yeah, free means free, nothing else.
That's right.
This one is famous, it's been around forever, the Nigerian letter scam, which is, oh dear, you know, there's $20 million in a country in Africa, and I need somebody outside of the country to help me move the funds. If you help me, I will give you 10%. Sounds good. It's $20 million, 10% is $2 million, right? And they'll ask for your bank account number so that they can wire the money into your account. And they might ask for a relatively small amount of money so that they can pay a tax or a bribe or a transit fee, etc. And it comes down to a death by 1,000 cuts. It's just one thing after another. You know, it might be only $500 the first, but maybe $2,000 or $3,000 the next time, because we're almost there. I just need to talk to a lawyer, and I need to pay him a retainer and that sort of thing. So these things, I just put up that Citizens Bank letter. That's something that was created on the internet. It doesn't exist. There's, you know, don't worry about it. So these never. And the final item is that if he needs somebody outside the country to help him get the money out of that country, he or she is going to be defrauding their government for several $1 million. So if that person thinks it's a good idea to defraud a government of several $1 million, why wouldn't they think it's a good idea to defraud you of whatever they can? And they are so polished. I had a lady that came in, her husband had got caught into one of these, and she said, what are we going to do? EPCOR is going to shut off the power next week. Don't worry about it. I talked to my friend in Africa. The money is going to be in the account on Monday. It wasn't. They landed up selling their house in order to clear off. It was absolutely tragic. So any of these, you need to help me move some money, hang up. Advance payment. This check, cashier's check, is a term that's used in the United States instead of certified check. It looks really good, and there's several different ways. You put something up on Kijiji at 3 o'clock in the morning. At 4 o'clock in the morning, you get an instant reply saying, I love it, I'll pay you whatever you're asking. There'll be a UPS driver at your door tomorrow morning, and he'll give you a certified check, and you just give him whatever it is, the computer, whatever it is that we're talking about. Those checks are usually drawn on some like the Bank of Northeast Dublin or something like that, so that it takes a while even for the banking system to find that bank. And then all of those coded numbers at the bottom, there's an intentional error, so the check has to be hand cleared. So it may take 2 months until your bank comes back and says, you know that check for $2,500 that you deposited? It wasn't valid. We'll just, well, what am I going to do? Is, don't worry, we'll just take that money out of your account right now, which is what they do. And so you need to be extra careful with these certified checks, advance checks. Again, they will try to convince you that this is a really good deal. Why wouldn't I'm offering you on $2,000 for that computer, even though it's 5 years old. I'm willing to pay $2,000 for it. No. So that's it. That also applies quite often to things like a secret shopper. You're supposed to go out, they deposit $1,000, they give you a check for $1,000. You're supposed to go out and buy some things at London Drugs and Safeway. And then the last thing is they need to test the bank system. So they want you to wire some money back to them and you get to keep $250. And again, the bank phones a month later and says, hey, that check didn't clear. Just one quick aside. When I deposit a check into my bank account, the personal check, the bank says, oh, you can't have that money for 5 days. We need to wait to clear. Everybody thinks that after those 5 days, the bank, whether that check clears or not, the bank can't come back to you. The truth is the bank can come, if they find that there was a bad check, they have up to 7 years to come back. So that 5 days is not really a thing. We're coming up to tax season. I shouldn't laugh. We all know the CRA tax schemes. By phone, by email, social media. I was surprised last year and that's actually a copy of the text off my phone. That was the first time that CRA had sent me a text message. So CRA does not make threatening phone calls or request personal information over the phone or by emails. Just delete text and emails claiming to be from CRA, especially if they request your social insurance number. And Canadian government agencies do not accept payment by Bitcoin or through gift card. So be warned. And it's, when you're looking for a lot of people, if they might be looking at a $200 or $300 rebate after they file their taxes. They're very anxious to have it because they've already got plans where to spend it. And so they get a text saying, just, hit this and we're good. No, it doesn't work. So CRA, and the other thing is, some people, life happens. One lady I spoke with, she said, well, 5 years ago, I was in the hospital for 6 months. When I got out of the hospital, it was already July. I hadn't filed my taxes, so I was late. So the next year, how could I file my taxes? Because I didn't file last year's taxes, and it just went on and on and on. And she had gotten a call from CRA saying, again, the same thing. We need $5,000. The police are on the way. Give me your credit card number or they will arrest you. Fortunately, she came to Sage to say, I got this call from CRA and I'm a little bit worried about it. And what Sage, of course, being the wonderful organization that it is, managed to look after filing all of her back taxes for her and helping her through that process. So anytime somebody phones and says they're from the CRA, if they are, just say, send it to me in writing, hang up. Nothing else. We're walking through, so computer repair and virus repairs, again, all of these fall back to that list of numbers. But that's the warning to pop up. May have been detected viruses on your computer. One gentleman that I talked to had been cruising some porn sites, and that popped up, and so he was terrified, right? Like, and fortunately, he just shut his computer down, disconnected the internet, and then gave it 5 minutes, restarted it. The pop-up was no longer there. Don't pay attention to those. Again, antivirus and anti-pop-up software can help you immensely with that. Another one, I got a call from Microsoft 4 years ago saying that they had detected a virus on my computer and they needed to help me. They wanted to walk me through the process of doing it. Fortunately, I had a second cup of coffee that morning, so it was a little bit brighter, and I said, wait a minute, how many billion computers in the world have Microsoft software installed on them? And out of all those billion computers, they recognize that there's a virus on mine? No. So that's, just, again, common sense. And, if you don't remove that virus right now, all your files are going to be destroyed. Threats, right? And threats and urgency. Jobs, hopefully not too many of us need to look for jobs, but that's another scam that comes up where people, you need to pay a $500 retainer fee so they can search for jobs on your behalf. Or they're going to offer you a job, but you need to have a medical and a psychology test and interview because it's a high-level job. And so, of course, we're going to pay you $80,000 a year, but you need to pay us $2,000 in advance. So for all of these tests, in case you don't turn out to be a suitable employee, ignore them. And grandchild, I told you I'd come back to this. Grandchild or friend in trouble. And that is, again, I was in Scotland, I got robbed, wire me some money. Or, hello, Grandpa, do you know who this is? And your mind automatically wants to connect. Okay, is this Nathan? Yeah, I'm in Mexico. I did something stupid. I got arrested. If I don't pay $1,000 right now, they're going to put me in jail. And everybody heard how bad Mexican jails are. Please, Grandpa, can you wire $1,000? I've already told my grandchildren that if they get in trouble in Mexico, don't call. If I did plenty of stupid things when I was young and I paid the price, so if you're going to do something stupid, you pay the price. But that, again, those calls happen, and again, those are the ones that seem to target seniors because we really want to look after our it's an emotional thing. So playing on emotion, playing on urgency, playing on a threat, all of those fun things. A service or repair used to be a really popular one. Just walking down the street, it's like, oh, I'm a roofing crew, and we're just coming down the street, and we noticed that there's some shingles loose on your roof. Fortunately, we're here right now because, boy, like that, a little bit of wind, and those shingles are going to be gone, and your house is going to be soaked. So we have a crew right now. We've got an extra hour or so. We can work on that. No. So those are that type of service repair things that you might see. Bank inspectors get a call from the bank, saying, we've got some concerns about your, one of the tellers at your branch. We think they're dishonest. And so what we would like to do is to have you, and we'll go with you, to withdraw some money from the ATM. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use that teller to deposit that money back into your account. So you just give us the money, we'll look after depositing it for you. The answer to that is, you know what? If you're the bank making several $1 billion a year in profit, you can hire your own damn detectives and not count on me to have to.
Are you under the Better Business
service, yeah.
So, and we're getting close here, and I'm sorry if I'm Bob, but there's so much. These are telephone and one ring scams. So for the phone scams themselves, there's services that offer to keep you up to date on news or sports, or offer the joke of the day by sending you a daily text, and a low service fee. On these ones, people think when they say here low service fee that it's $5 a month. Well, the low service fee is $5, but it's $5 a day. And when you try to cancel that subscription service, it's a long, nasty process. The other one is, and this, I don't know if it's urban myth or what, but getting a call, can you hear me? And so the answer is yes. And they'll just loop that into a recording where apparently they're asking you if you'd like to spend $5,000 on this vacation. And so they have your voice saying yes. So again, if somebody says, can you hear me? Don't say yes, but can you repeat that? You know, that type of thing. But never just a plain yes. And then the one ring scams, and these are some of the phone numbers to be wary of. They'll phone your number, let it ring once and hang up. Now, my attitude is, if it's important, they'll call me back or they'll leave a voicemail. But some people, oh my God, I better figure out who that, I better just return the call. And frequently, the return call for one of these numbers is a premium phone service that charges $20 a minute. And so when you phone and say, somebody at this number called me, I'm trying to figure out why, and they didn't leave a message, well, we'll try to play you on for, 20 minutes. Oh, let me check with one of my colleagues. Must be that sort of thing. So if somebody phones you, lets it ring once and hangs up, they don't leave a message, they don't call back, don't bother calling back. There's no point. And again, with unfamiliar numbers. I got a call from country code 36, which I think is Hungary. I don't know anybody in Hungary. I never bought, but it was one of these one ring and hang up. And I just wanted to go back to quickly that Visa Security Department. Hadn't heard from them for years. The past month, I've gotten one call a week saying it's Visa Security. We're concerned about some transactions on your card. That's it. Romance and wellness. The romance fraud, you saw on that list at the beginning how big that is. And we're older people, and this is something that really targets seniors. We're older people. We want companionship. We meet somebody on the internet, and within 5 seconds, they're deeply in love with us. But, and they want to come and visit. Really have to come and visit. But, he just needs a little bit of money so that he can repair his car to drive up, or he can bribe an official so he can get an exit visa, or buy an airline ticket, or buy some clothes because his house was flooded, and that sort of stuff. And it's one of these, again, a death by 1,000 blows. Start low, build confidence, let's go. So be really careful about those romance scams. If you meet somebody online, be 100 times more cautious with them than if you met them at a cafe or something. Wellness. There are an awful lot of ads online for male enhancement products, which may either be completely useless or actually harmful. Contain a lot of salt or adrenaline or something that, my heart can't take as much as it used to. Really, if it's a secret that Big Pharma doesn't want you to know, just leave it right there. And And then this is an example. Oops. Ah, there we are. A bit of a lag between my computer and it. That's an example of phishing. It looks completely legit. But if you enter your access card and your password, they've got, again, even, actually I was saying to say, you know, if it's, you can call your bank branch directly, if you got something like that over the internet. But I found, this was like last year, that I heard that somebody got a letter from the Bank of Montreal asking for this information and asking to mail it back. Fortunately, they looked at the front, the address on the return envelope, and it didn't make sense. But if you do get a contact like that from the bank, I would say call the bank directly and say, I got this, what are you doing with this? That could be many different, many different uses. Can be for banks or for CRA or for a whole bunch of organizations. They'll just send you something that looks legit and then you worry about it afterwards. Pyramid and multi-level marketing schemes. If you know you need to pay $500, but you get to sell this franchise to 6 other people, and you get, you know, $200 out of each person that signs up for $500. That's great if you're the first person. That means you only got to contact 6 people. If you're the 7th person down the chain, you need to contact 279,000 people. You know, it's just, that's why it's called a pyramid, is that shape. So basically, if somebody says you need to pay an entrance fee in order to become a distributor or a sales rep or whatever, if you need to pay a fee to stop talking to them instantly. Now we're on to some, you know, sorry, what did I miss? Oh yeah, just the general safety. Be suspicious, guard your personal information, and people that ask for payment in gift cards or wire transfer should set off every single alarm bell in your head. So, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre and the Competition Bureau of Canada. The Competition Bureau of Canada produces that little black book of scams. Again, it explains an awful lot of them. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, again, they're involved. There's a lot of information about scams out there because it's a really popular business. So those are a couple of resources that you can go to check. Within Edmonton, the West End Senior Center and I think the Edmonton Center Senior Center got a grant. They produced this website, Senior Fraud Alert. It's fabulous. It has listings of, I don't know if you can see, I just sort of copied a little bit, but if you want to find out about a funeral scam, home security scam, a fake website scam, a romance and dating scam, they've got information there. It is a very, very valuable resource, and it's here in Edmonton. The other is, of course, the Edmonton Police Department, and they're very strict. They have, again, you can see down, well, on the far left-hand side, and I apologize, it's not a great picture, but signs of a scam, what is Bitcoin, COVID-related scams. So their website is fairly well up to date. And they say, if you're the victim, if you've been the victim of a fraud, call the Edmonton Police Service immediately. Because don't be afraid to come forward. They may not be able to recover your money. And that's, yeah, in many cases, they won't be able to recover your money. But at least it's reported, it's on file, it will help other people from getting scammed. And we will get into questions or comments if anybody has them. I apologize I rambled on for so long, but that's where I stole all the information from. As I said, there's not an original thought in my brain. It's just, I just aggregated information from all of those, trying to give a brief summary possible. Larry, you have a question.
Thank you very much, Eric. Very useful. I have a question and observation. The observation is beware of the very early morning or middle of the night telephone calls. I fell for one. As far as I can tell, there's no consequences. But if somebody rings you up at 5 o'clock in the morning, yeah, you remember it's 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. And that's what
something. My question has to do with antiviruses for Mac products.
Oops. I can talk about Chrome OS or Windows OS, but I can't. I apologize.
So far as I know, they aren't available, and it's virtually impossible. But I can't find anyone who's actually.
That's what I've heard, but I honestly can't give you a guideline on that. I use on Chrome. I use it's called ad block, and that prevents pop-ups and that sort of stuff. And I've got through my internet service provider, I've got Norton antivirus on all of my computers as well. And it's important, that I think, but going back to Larry's initial comment, again, that's the counting one weakness. If I can get one weakness in, that's the door to your heart. So threats or a threat, or you need to take action right now, or that, but also you just woke up, so you're probably not going to be on top of it. Sir.
I get tons and tons of phone calls. And how do they get my information, and how do I get rid of it? I get an average of 1 or 2 a day.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've changed my phone number, and it still is happening again.
A lot of that is, if you get one of those calls, you ever notice that when you pick up your phone, there's a bit of a delay before somebody starts talking?
Yeah.
That's because they start with area code 780, exchange 722, and the machine starts dialing 0001.
So it's all computer generated.
They're just going through a complete exchange. And that's why when they ring, as soon as it starts ringing, the computer hands it over to the operator. And sometimes it's, there's a bit of a delay. But yeah, I don't
answer them. I don't answer them.
Yeah, again, if a lot of us have got call display, my theory is, again, if I see a number like that number from Hungary the other day, if I don't know who that is. If it's important, they'll either call me back or leave a message.
Is it blocking you?
I can't. I need a new phone. I can't block numbers on that phone. But the weekly call that I'm getting from Visa Security, that's a different phone number every time. It's a different 1-800-1866 number every time. What can you do? Do we have any questions online?
Yes. Grant.
Oh, Grant, sorry.
Yeah, okay. I'm still looking for where I can indicate on the screen that I have my hand up. A couple of things. First of all, if you see a call on your phone, on the display, that you don't recognize, that isn't in your contacts, don't answer it, but don't stop it, because then they know you're home. And then, I did this twice this morning already. Hit information, down at the bottom it says block this number, block it. Even if it changes every time, you're just doing one little thing to screw them up. And, you know, sometimes they are devious like crazy. Back in May, I noticed on my Aeroplan account, and I had a lot of points because I've done a lot of flying. All of a sudden, my Aeroplan points dropped by over 280,000 points. I said, what? I didn't do anything. I didn't take any trips. And then I thought, oh, well, maybe, you know, I haven't used it for quite a while because of COVID, etc. I thought maybe Air Canada had just decided that they had expired. So I waited a few days, didn't hear anything from Aeroplan. So I phoned them. And it turned out that somehow or another, the fraudsters had got into my email account, and from that got into my Aeroplan account and used all my points to buy gift cards. Aeroplan is honorable, and the woman I was talking to was amazing. She said that they were getting huge numbers of cases like this. And she said, normally we'd be on it in 2 or 3 days. She said, now the best estimate I can give you is 70 days. So I put a little note on my calendar to check my account on that day. And miracolo, all my points reappeared on the 70th day. Oh, yeah. This is my last point, honest, at least for now. The call from, or the text from somebody that you know, who claims to know you and needs money. I've been in that position. A few years ago, I was in Berlin. My wallet was stolen. I was staying at a hotel. How was I going to pay? Because I didn't have any credit cards. I didn't have my bank card anymore. The guy at the hotel was just fantastic. He really tried to get me in touch with my credit card companies and stuff, but that's another story. He finally said, is there somebody who could put the hotel charges on a credit card for you? And I thought of a couple of people in Edmonton, but it was not a convenient time of day to phone. And then I thought, well, I'm going to London and I'm going to be staying with friends there. So very, very good friends. I texted one of them and said, hey, this is what's happened. Would you mind if my hotel charges got put on your credit card? Would you be willing to send your credit card info to the hotel? Instantly got a reply saying, of course, no problem. And about 30 seconds later, how do I know this is you? And I thought, I burst out laughing and replied with something that was a little bit scandalous, perhaps, but I knew that he would know that it had to be me. There's nobody else in the universe would have replied that way. And he put the charges on his card, and I paid him back when I got to London 2 days later. So, you know, sometimes those texts, those calls are legitimate. If you're actually talking to the person, it's easy to make him, her identify himself legitimate.
What's one detail, you know, when did last Christmas, when did we go out, or what restaurant did we go to, or something like that?
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't have to be scandalous like mine was. You know? Well, it wasn't scandalous. It was just kind of rude. But
so we do have thank you, Grant. We have a note from Joan Whitecalf saying, my credit card company will take off fraudulent charges if I contact them.
yes.
To the bank, anything like that for someone who has been a victim of fraud. A couple of things. Yes, I mean, I've had that a fraudulent charge showed up on my credit card, phoned credit card company, boom, not a problem at all. I've never had a problem with my bank, but I've heard plenty of stories where the banks don't tend to be quite as slick as that, because they say, well, somebody used, you know, to make this withdrawal, somebody used your PIN. how did they get your PIN, your personal identification number? You must have given it to them. So if you gave that number to anybody else and they used it to take money out of your account, not my problem. So my understanding is that eventually you can wear them down and they will refund that money, but it's a much more difficult process than if it was a credit card. Credit card just seems to be very easy. So,
Could I add just one point there? I tried to phone my bank a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It's almost impossible to get through to talk to a person. Yeah. And I think that consumers, bank customers, need to let the banks know that this is totally unacceptable.
How life changes. I remember when I was a young man moving from Montreal to Winnipeg, I went to my bank manager in Montreal. He wrote a letter of introduction to my bank manager in Winnipeg. That would not happen anymore. So yeah, that's one of the problems, is that it costs money to have people attend to issues. And so if they can do it through a voice menu or artificial intelligence, hi, I'm the robot, I'm in training, tell me your question and I'll see if I can answer it for you. Those types of things, which we're now seeing more and more, it makes it very, very difficult to get to speak to a long person. But, you know, if time is money and money is also time, so if there's $5,000 missing from my bank account, I'll take the time. So you have a question?
Well, no, it's more a comment. I've heard this several times where people have said, their seniors have said, I've had problems with my bank getting a hold of someone. I've never had a problem with the Canadian Western Bank.
Canadian Western Bank?
Yes, they seem to love seniors, and I've been with my bank for about 25, maybe 30 years now, so they do know me, but the staff keep changing.
Yes.
And I never seem to have any problem at all.
I've heard of that, the Canadian Western Bank and also Service Credit Union. I've heard that both of those tend to be an awful lot more responsive and customer focused, particularly for seniors.
Senior friendly.
And I did hear there was a lady who got caught in a scam, romance scam, that her new boyfriend was going to come up from Louisiana to visit, so she was going to the bank, transferred $5,000 down to him, and fortunately, it was service. The teller said, "Can you tell me a little bit more about this? Because this happens to an awful lot of seniors. I just want to make sure that you're not getting scammed." So,
yeah, well,
that is customer service to
yeah,
a
well,
level.
that's what happened to me with the bank was, you gotta call. The bank helped me. I told them, yes, scam, and they helped me, and they've been being very helpful, all continually in watching. All I have to do is phone up and ask, and they'll help.
Yeah. So I think that's, and that's another thing, that there are some banks who say they cater to seniors, and there are some banks who actually cater to seniors. And, even if, and I've been with the Royal Bank for ages, but fortunately I've got a good connection there, and I feel that they treat me respectfully and look after any issues that I've had. But even if I've been there for 20 years, and if I don't feel that I'm getting an appropriate level of service, I can shop around. Yes, you have a question?
Yes, to your point, Eric, about computers and how there's a pause before they transfer it over to the person. Have you heard how effective call control can be at that? Because I've heard that call control can block the computer so that it doesn't actually press the button so you don't get through. I'm just wondering if you've heard if that's effective or not.
Yes, sorry, good point, I should have talked about that. So I don't have it on my phone.
Repeat the question.
Oh, you repeat the question. So yeah, it's, people do have call control on their phone, and that defeats the automation because my brother has it on his phone. When I phone his number, it says, please enter 7 to continue this call. And it's a random number generated every time. So the next time I call, it might be, please enter 1 to complete this call. So that call control, I think if you're on TELUS, I know they handle it because that's where my brother's phone is, but I'm not sure about the other ones. But it's a good thing. If you have does it work on cell phones?
I'm not sure.
I think it only works on landlines, but I'll have a look. We are 5 minutes left. Do you have a quick comment or?
Yeah, I got scammed, not, two things I ordered online, $49 for a dog fence. And another one was a generator that was $69. And I thought these are too good to be true. There's a lot of people I know that, hey, we need dog fence. I'm that person. So I waited and waited and waited, and finally a delivery company came to the door and they had an envelope this big. And I thought, the only thing I'm waiting for is my dog fence. It was a pair of sunglasses from China. Same thing with my generator, a pair of sunglasses from China. And both SKUs were identical. When I checked and found, I did a lot of research back into it. I got my money back from them. But I'll tell you, it took a lot of perseverance. And I said I want these dogs. Oh my God,
so back to
too good to be true.
The first sign, or second sign, which was for 65 and older. The second most popular scam is online purchases. And yeah, so I mean, I have no problem buying from, well, I do have a problem buying from Amazon, but if I can't find it locally, then I got no choice. But a place like that is trusted. I have no problem buying the product from them. But if I've never, if I've never seen this company before, but it's a product that looks good.
There's that address disguised as an Amazon.
Yeah. So that was a phishing attempt. Listen, we are almost done, and I think we are done, depending on which clock you're using. Thank you for attending online today. You're going to miss out on my mother's homemade ginger snap recipe, which I cooked up last night. I told the young man that I helped look after that I was cooking making cookies for a meeting today. He said, wow, you really are gay, aren't you? Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much. Join us next week, please, for Remy from
McEwen and the Edmonton Queer History Project.
So the Edmonton Queer History Project, there's going to be Remy and a few others from Grant McEwen. They're going to be here in person and talking about some good, exciting things for us to do, to consider. And that's about it.
Where is this available for this presentation?
Oh, it should be, there's a link that's on the email that I send out every week. There's a link down at the bottom that shows where the recordings are. Now, but it's always a bit of a delay until they get up because we send the recording off to a very kind volunteer who helps us, but he has to do some processing on it before he can upload. So it always takes a couple of weeks before it's not live.
Eric, isn't it the Aging with Pride YouTube channel?
Yeah.
It's a YouTube channel? Yeah.
So I just can't remember the exact details off the top of my head, but it's there. So please do join us next week. Thank you so much for attending, and we're going to break for coffee now. Bye-bye, everyone.